Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. Sign up for a 1-week free trial, no credit card required, for access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good week out there. Certainly a lot of pulling back. We were very cautious of this, and I was saying it day after day, well aware that it went up multiple days after I started giving caution, but at that point we were taking a strategy and a standpoint of short-term bullish action to be very protective of what we knew was going to be a very significant pullback when it did start. And people that aren't familiar with technical analysis see this and they figure, what's going on? What's the bad news? And you don't have to have bad news on this kind of move when you see an extended multiple 100% move with little to no consolidation. You're going to pull back this significant. And that's just from watching time and time again these kind of crazy breakouts happen. You see it in the cryptocurrency space. We saw it in USMJ. We saw it in Canadian MJ a year ago. These are all repetitive lessons we learn from history. They continue to happen. So the vast majority of us were very ready for this pullback and in cash, playing it bearish on the way down and then reloading on the bounce. Check out the video that I did on Thursday night to get us ready for Friday, because it played out in the morning exactly as anticipated with the gap down open, the flush to hourly oversold RSI. I believe I said we could pull back to 30. I wasn't necessarily saying that day, but we ended up pulling back to 30 that day. Then the bounce started playing out and there were significant gains off the bottom. So now we're in a scenario where Monday we do not have trading for the US names. We have no trading for MJX, so there can't be any buying, but it hasn't been buying the past couple of days anyways, so not sure it's going to have a significant effect, and going to watch how that action is going to end up playing out. Also want to mention that we have more ETFs being filed for in terms of looking for junior ETFs in terms of the smaller names, so that's going to be exciting when those start coming in. We're going to be looking to build an MJ ETF website at some point down the line. Certainly a lot of projects on our hands right now, but bought the domains many months ago anticipating this to happen, and now we're going to see more and more throughout this sector. So checking in on MJX, we have a big bearish reversal candlestick on the weekly time frame, and we're going to look at all these names on the weekly. We're going to look at MJX, WEED, APH, ACB, MJN, and then we'll look at a few US names and then that Australian name. And they're all forming, well, not all, but a lot of the Canadian names, all the Canadian names that I'm looking at are forming bearish reversal candlesticks on the weekly time frame. That means that this could be just the start of consolidation. What I anticipate to happen, I will show you on individual names. So here we are on MJX. We pulled back significantly on the weekly time frame. The daily chart has lost the higher low pattern. This was a higher low. So when this happens, I now look for lower highs. I'm going to look for an oversold bounce, a lower high to form on the daily time frame, and then we're going to pull back. The question from there is, after the lower high, can the bulls hold the low wherever that is and see recovery, or do we see a lower high and then a lower low? The bottom line is, though, we will see a lower high, in my opinion, unless there is significant news to negate the normal technical analysis, and we will take it from there once that lower high hits. We are seeing extreme oversold conditions. The hourly RSI dropped down. When we were at the low of this candlestick on Friday morning, this RSI was down in the teens. It was right around 20 and below 20. Bullish reversal hammer, we saw follow through. If we had more time, I would anticipate that we would see a higher low established on the hourly time frame, a bullish MACD cross, and then a higher high and a continued recovery. But we did run out of time by the end of the day on Friday, so it's going to be dependent on, well, we're going to have a bit of a discrepancy because we aren't going to be trading here, and we're likely going to see a gap on all these US names on Tuesday because we're going to have a day head start for the Canadian names. So where we stand on MJX, key resistance right now is 34.55, and key support is the low of the dump, 32.93, as well as the low of consolidation during regular trading hours, and that was down at 33.54. So those are the two levels that I'm keeping an eye on, 33.54 and 32.93 in terms of support. If we do get an hourly higher low and higher high on any of these names, we can then gain confidence that the low on the daily chart is in for now, and we'll begin that bounce playing out. So WEED on the weekly chart is a bearish reversal shooting star candlestick. We could pull back on this weekly chart to $25 and still be extremely healthy. Keep in mind that all we need to do is form a higher low above 17.16. We could pull back to $20 and still be in an uptrend, but obviously the bulls don't want to give back that much. There is a gap at 23.78 to be aware of on this weekly chart. That could be a target as well. I would be very surprised if we headed back down to those levels anytime soon. I would not be surprised to see us, for a few weeks, maybe a couple months, as we head into late winter of 2018 and head into the end of the first quarter of 2018, multiple weeks of consolidation with some short-term bounces throughout the way. But, we could see WEED at $25 again. We'll have to see if we fill this gap. The daily time frame, we're looking for a higher low. So unlike MJX, we still have the possibility to form a higher low here. 29.07 is support. We bounced off of 30.40 on Friday. The bulls really want to hold 29.07 to continue the possibility of remaining in this uptrend because, again, if we lose the higher low pattern, we then look for a lower high on the bounce. Another thing to be watching out for, again, this is very early in the pattern, but a left shoulder, a head, and then if we get a right shoulder, it would be a potential bearish reversal head and shoulders pattern if we do end up starting the bounce from here. That's another pattern I'm going to be keeping an eye out for, but don't have to worry about that for another few days at the least. Checking in on the hourly time frame, the RSI, again, we got to oversold conditions. It dropped all the way down into the low 20s at the low of this candlestick with the extreme dump after the gap down open. We were expecting that gap down due to the week close on Thursday. And again, watch that Thursday video just to review and to look back historically and see what were we looking at, how were we anticipating this move to happen, and the follow through that did happen. High of the bounce is key resistance, 34.99, and here's the higher low at the end of the day. That was down at 32.08. So two support levels, 32.08 and 30.40, and resistance is 34.99. Personally, I would anticipate that our low on the daily chart is in for now. I would have liked to have seen a stronger close on WEED. I do have a very small position. I rebought and sold. I bought in the morning from the airport as I was traveling via phone, and then sold on the bounce, anticipating that we would need to form a higher low on the hourly. Then I rebought a very small position because I knew I would have my hands tied on Monday and not be able to sell. So very small position just to get myself, in the game in terms if we do see the bounce play out on Monday for Canadian MJ, and then we have the US market play catch up on Tuesday. And if we head down lower, I have plenty of cash to be buying. And if we do head down lower on Monday, it is a buying opportunity in my opinion because the hourly RSI is already at 30. So if we were to drop down and break this low of 30.40 on Monday, absolutely that's a buying opportunity because the RSI at that point will be down into the 20 range and potentially even the teens. And again, on a very bullish sector, on a very bullish uptrend, if the hourly RSI is down at those levels, I'm very comfortable buying. So those are the levels we're watching. In my opinion, I do believe that the bulls will be able to hold 30.40. But again, I'm not going to overexpose myself if they are not able to. I want to have plenty of cash to be buying if that is the case. So on the daily chart, we did not see a bullish reversal candlestick, didn't see enough of a lower wick. And the question is going to be all about 30.40. Can the bulls hold 30.40 on Monday? And can we see a bullish reversal candlestick? Pretty much the goal for the bulls on Monday is to form an inside bar on the daily time frame because that means we will hold 30.40 and see a bounce attempt play out. APH. Weekly chart had a bearish reversal doji last week. Bearish reversal shooting star this week. Still higher lows. We're watching for those higher lows to be lost. Look at this weekly chart. This weekly chart, I don't expect it to, but I'm just saying that we could pull back to $8 and still be in an extremely strong uptrend. Look at how little consolidation we have on this way up. So there's a lack of support, and this chart definitely makes me nervous as a bull when we get overextended because of how quickly we can pull back. And this past week was a perfect example. I don't think people that are not familiar with technical analysis would certainly not say, this sector is going to pull back 30% in 3 days with no bearish news as a reason. And people that are familiar with technical analysis wouldn't put it past that from happening. So checking on the daily time frame for APH, the higher low was 1660, and we did just bounce right off that level. It's a double low at this point, very clear support level. If that level breaks, we can anticipate there's a solid amount of stop loss levels below that. Same thing, there is the potential of the bearish reversal head and shoulders pattern from here. If we do see the bounce begin and we top out in the $21 range, and the top here was $21.97, so we could top out in the $22 range. And if we break that neckline and that double low, that is a bearish reversal pattern on the daily time frame. And that's something I'm going to be keeping an eye out for. So on the hourly time frame, to get our key levels heading into Monday, we're looking down at that low, 1660 key support, we have a higher low at 1730, and the high of the bounce is our resistance at 1921. ACB, bearish reversal candlestick on the weekly time frame. The daily chart had already started consolidation. I highlighted in Thursday's video the importance of 1149 support due to the lack of support if it breaks. And you can see the gap down and the big flush down towards the lows. We've gapped down 2 days in a row on most of these Canadian MJ names. A third gap down would be a bullish reversal pattern, but I would be very surprised to see a gap down open on Monday with the decent lower wick we had from the low of the day on some of these names. So just to get those ACB levels on the hourly time frame, again, we're all in the same scenario due to the correlation. It's just the numbers that are different here. So the 3 levels that I am watching on, I just ruined that chart, bear with me. So here we go. Those 3 levels are support of 961, resistance of 1144, and another support level of 1030. So 1030 and 961 are support, and resistance is 1144. Those are the ranges that we are watching. Again, hourly RSI right at 30, APH hourly RSI slightly above 30, but all will be very oversold if we break the lows of Friday first thing on Monday with another flush down. MJN, bearish reversal, shooting star candlestick, big upper wick of profit taking. Same thing. We have run so hard, we have a lot of room for a pullback. The daily chart lost the higher low pattern, I believe. Let's double check here. 910, and it did break. So we have lost the higher lows. That is significant to note. 901 was support. We dropped down to 884. Look where we closed, near the low of the day. That would indicate to me that we could very easily see continuation to the downside. And the next support level down here is 772. There's a lot of room to the downside, which means, in my opinion, that MJN, there's been a lot more volatility. I've liked some of these MJN bounces more than WEED due to the volatility and percentage gains that they can provide, and going to be watching for the possibility of a really nice daily entry if we do get some pretty extreme levels in terms of oversold. Same thing, the RSI is right at 30. We are closer to the low, so 884 and 890 are our 2 supports, and the resistance is the high of the bounce, and that was up at 988. So checking in on the US names, IIPR, looking for an equilibrium pattern on the daily time frame. We have our high, the low of the pullback, our lower high, and we're looking for a higher low compared to 2518. Resistance is 3333. We're going to get a tightening range. A lot of these USMJ names started consolidation before Canadian MJ, and they have some really nice daily equilibrium patterns forming that are going to give us some really clear breaks and some really nice day trading opportunities sometime within the next 2 weeks. TRTC, very similar, the daily chart. We had the high, the low of the pullback was down at 255. We have the lower high as the top of the bounce at 3865, and we'll see if the bulls can form a higher low compared to 255. If we get a bear break, that makes me a lot less interested in these USMJ names. If we can see a bull break of equilibrium patterns, then I'm interested. Let's check in on ABCNN. ACNNF. There we go. Sorry, I knew I got that ticker wrong. So we got the resistance on the daily was the high at 175. We were looking for a higher low to be established. We saw a bullish reversal candlestick down at 120, and then a really nice follow through from the close that day, which was 125. We went all the way up to 159. Really significant 20+% gains. And we're going to look for an equilibrium pattern here as well. We have our high and our low. We'll look for a lower high and a higher low and a tightening range that will give us a nice clear break. I'm just going to go over those 3 names for now, but there's a lot more USMJ names that you could look at in terms of fitting the same consolidation pattern. Let's just see MJNA, beautiful daily equilibrium pattern forming. So keep an eye on that for USMJ names. Keep an eye on the low of Friday for Canadian MJ names. Keep an eye on the hourly RSI, and we will see how Monday goes. Again, congrats to everybody that locked in some profits on the way up. If you are long-term and not selling anything, then that's your game plan. But the opportunity is there to reload significantly more shares with the same amount of money by locking in some profit when things get extremely overextended on the daily time frame. I appreciate you watching. Sounding a little bit different. I don't have my usual mic. I'm out of town. But we'll be back next week for the normal action, and looking forward to that. So thanks again. Have a great rest of your weekend.